Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Books by Brit TV. I'm your host, Brit, and y'all know it. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be having us a little sip and chat about the author Noire, right? Well, what happened was I was supposed to have did a wine tasting video, but my boyfriend said we were probably going on a date in a couple, so I won't have time to actually do the whole video. But we're still going to get over here and talk about some things, right? And the wine that I am drinking is actually locally made. It is by Lake Ridge Winery and Vineyards. It is called Southern White Premium White Wine. And it is made in Claremont, Florida. And it says Southern White, a smooth, flavorful, distinct white wine that expresses cream aromas and full fruit. This wine finishes slightly sweet, like the muscadine grape. A perfect match with cheeses, fresh fruit, and rich desserts. Let me pour me a little sippy sip. Ooh. And y'all, muscadine or muscadine, however you pronounce it. Actually, my brothers and cousins and I, we grew up calling those scuffling grapes. And we used to love to eat them, but I don't know if I was allergic to them back then or something like that. But it used to make my throat itch so bad. My throat and eyes would itch so bad. So I had to stop eating them when I was like 11 or 12. Oh, y'all, I'm itching. But I had to stop eating. But I know I had another wine that had muscadine grapes in them, so I know I'm not allergic to them per se. But let's take a sip. It's really good. It's definitely a dessert wine. I can taste the grapes in it, y'all. It's real good. But if I'm being honest, I like the wine Vintner's White by San Sebastian Winery over in St. Augustine. My boyfriend and I went there last year before the pandemic began. I said St. Augustine. And this taste is very similar to it. Like, the only difference is it's not as sweet or as strong as that wine, but it tastes very similar to it. It says vented and bottled by Lake Ridge Winery and Vineyards in Claremont, Florida. The taste is almost the same. I guess because the base is the muscadine grape. Okay, y'all. But anywho, the author Noire, however y'all pronounce her name. My cousin EJ and I were huge fans of her. Let me tell you, we were even subscribed to her website at the time when she first came out. It was called Noire, and she had a little magazine that she was launching as well. I don't know if it's still up, y'all. I didn't even check before I got on this video to make the video. But she had a website out called Noire that had a magazine. And I tell y'all, we were so into her. Like, we was following when she was trying to make a movie, and when she was doing interviews with Reem Raw, this rapper out of New York. And I'm gonna tell you how big of a fan was. I actually bought his music on something or other. I did go out and buy his music because she vouched for him so hard in her book Candy Looker. And I'm like, oh, okay, Reem Raw must be on it because I was such a big fan of hers. Nevertheless, I kind of felt, I didn't even know I just fell all off from her after a couple of her, not a couple, but after several of her books. Not real reason why, I just stopped reading her stuff and started reading other things. But we was a huge fan of her, my cousins and I. We used to be at Borders at like early Saturday mornings to get her books when they first released, or just to get there and read some of her book if we ain't had no money, read the book over several visits to Borders. I missed them Borders being open. Borders used to be everything. Oh, my screen went out. Borders used to be everything, and I miss Borders being open. Like, we had a Books Millions and Barnes and Nobles, but we was two teenagers, so we ain't had no extra change the way Barnes and Nobles and Books Millions used to cost back then. We just go to Borders, buy the book for like $12 and call it a day, right? But yeah, really, really used to love her. And I think I know why I fell off from reading her stuff, because she never did meet and greets. And if she did, I don't recollect her ever coming to a city near me, right? And I grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, so she never came to Tallahassee or Valdosta or Jacksonville. So not that I can recollect. If y'all remember her coming, y'all can drop down in the comments, let me know. But yeah, that's why I fell off. I was like, girl, like, keep paying this money and, you know, never get to see you get a book signed or get to ask you questions about the book. It got lame real quick. But yeah, the first book I ever read from her was G-Spot. And they call it an erotic urban tale, which when I was growing up, y'all know I like to try to categorize books. I didn't understand why they called it an urban erotic tale, but then like reading it now, I see why they call it, because the books that were considered urban, you know, Donald Goins, Iceberg Slim, Coldest Winter Ever, those books didn't really show like, they talked about the hood and drugs and things like that, but they didn't really show the men loving on the women like that, or the women really enjoying sex. It was mostly, you know, like sex work where we're paying you to have sex, or, you know, you having sex for drugs. It was always transactional type of sex. So that's why I get why they call it urban erotic tale, but most of the urban writers now write in this same vein. So I will say she did create a whole new genre, or she revamped the genre when she came out with G-Spots. Not now. Okay. So yes, G-Spot. First one I read, y'all, went to my cousin EJ house out in Woodville, and I read this book in probably 2.5, 3 hours, right? And that was the first time I had ever read something as graphic in a book. I was like, oh my God. So it's essentially the story of a girl named Juicy Monique Stanfield, who's 19, and she's been with this guy who's like 46, 47 years old since she was 17 when her grandmother died, right? He takes care of her and her 17-year-old brother. And he gives her everything that she could think of, kind of like a sugar daddy role, but he her actual boyfriend because they live together. He owns this club called the G-Spot, and they have prostitution, strippers, the cutting room upstairs, and a regular entertainment area or whatever, right? And she's bored with life because she's 19, and though she's in college, she really wants to have sex with her. She really wants to, you know, have sex with G. But G ain't trying to have sex like that. G old. He got his own backstory later on we'll get to. G old, so he ain't trying to have sex, be out there wrestling like that. And then one day his son comes home from college and is on and popping from them. I ain't gonna tell y'all the whole story because you need to read it. We can talk about it in another video. But y'all, it was such a good book. I just fell in love. Like, after I read it, EJ read it, we just kept talking about this book. And I feel like we passed this book around at school. Then all our aunts read it. Well, I think my mama, his mama, and Auntie Peter. But all our aunts got into this book. It was such a good book, y'all. So needless to say, we were all anticipating her second release, which turned out to be Candy Looking, yay! And I think that came out like a year later, right? Maybe 6 months later, I don't know. And I love Candy Looking. I don't even want to really say nothing too bad about the book, but it was kind of like, you know, she rebooted G-Spot, right? Let me tell y'all, if y'all ever want a good debate about books, my cousins EJ and Tuka, when they talk about which book is best, G-Spot versus Candy Looker, that's a debate out of this world. And what had happened is EJ read Candy Looker first, right? And EJ read G-Spot first, and Tuka read Candy Looker first. And so, you know, they both had their bias towards their own thing. Tuka read Candy Looker and went back and read G-Spot and felt like G-Spot wasn't that good because she read Candy Looker. EJ the same thing with G-Spot. And I like both. I kind of feel like G-Spot was better because she was, I would say, you know, the author was hungry when she wrote this book. And, you know, Candy Looker was just her fulfilling her contract. You know, let me just throw them a little yang, throw them something so they'll get off my back and I can take my time for my next book. That's my thoughts on why she, excuse me. Those are my thoughts on why she rushed out with, with Candy Looker. But the biggest criticism I have of Candy Looker is that, I don't know, y'all, I just felt like Candy Ray Montana was dirty. She just gave off, you know, the dirty vibes. Maybe it's because her mama was trying to, you know, pimp her and she was letting them old men fill on her for money. But I don't know. I know she was trying to vibe, but she just gave me off dirty vibes. That's maybe why I don't like Candy Looker. But it was really good. So the next one, Thugalicious. And it's about this young NBA player who has, like, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids by 7, 8 women. And he has a girlfriend. I'm not going to call her no ride or die because Carmisha Mother, whatever her last name was, she was smart. When he started having all them kids, she bounced. They would always be friends. But she wasn't finna stick around and hold him down until he started making money in the NBA. But I remember that book was really a really touching story. I actually cried at the end of the book because, spoiler alert, sorry, you know, one of the main characters died at the end. And I remember I came home and I saw the book on the bed and I stayed in my room. I came from school and I stayed in my room the rest of the day reading the book, and I came out crying. My mom said, "What's wrong, baby?" And I said, "Blank died." And she was like, "Oh, let me read it next. Let me read it next." Because my mama wasn't one of them people who really get mad if you spoil the book, because she's still going to anticipate the lead up to it. Right? So, bomb. That was an awesome book, y'all. I never read Hood. I'm lying. I did read Hood. Hood was a disgusting book. I'm thinking about another book that she wrote that's showing up down here. Hood was a disgusting book. All that blowing my back out and stuff like that. Y'all, that book was too graphic for me. And that's when I'm like, oh, girl, I don't know if I can be able to keep on reading her stuff. Like, this is too graphic for me, right? It was too sad at that. Like, I don't mind a sad book, but it was too sad. I just couldn't. Then we get down to Thong on Fire. Saucy Sarita Jackson. Y'all, Noire knew she could name them girls a damn Candy, Juicy, and Saucy. Them supposed to be nicknames, right? She knew damn well Juicy's name was really Monique Juicy Stanfield, and Candy real name probably was Candice or something like that. But I don't know. She knew she could name something like that. And Saucy was this girl. She was a mixed girl. And she was fast. She got a baby by this rapper guy, and she was supposed to be a model, but she liked to party and do drugs. That story was extremely sad too. Like, it was sad, and it was kind of disturbing. So I ain't even gonna lie. Like, there was a child abuse scene in the book where the child didn't know what she was doing, so you can't be too mad about that. But the girl, you know, she's telling the story as an adult, and you hear her talking about how she actually enjoyed being abused as a child. It was a little disturbing, y'all. But it not needless to say, it was good. But it just took on this little morbid presence, and I just couldn't. I think I only read that book twice. I had to read it once and then read it again so that me and my cousins could talk about it. Hot mess. Then we get down to Unzipped. Unzipped was a story of these twin sisters who had a baby by the same person. And one night, they both had a baby by the same man. The baby was born the same day. And the parents took care of the children. Then one night, the house is set on fire and everybody survives but one sister. And that sister goes on to become a member of the FBI Academy and tries to go undercover, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just another one of those really dark books where it was almost like, you know, because there's so much darkness and intensity to it, the book was hard for me to digest, right? So, yeah, it was just a lot. That book was good, but it was a lot. And then you get down to Hittin The Bricks. This is where Noire completely lost Brittany at, y'all. Like, let me take a sip. Hittin The Bricks is about this young girl who is turned out by her mother's boyfriend, and she's raped and beaten and molested and just degraded in so many different ways. And, you know, her mother puts her out, and one night after her mother puts her out, she gives birth in the laundromat, and she leaves the baby there for this one nice young or nice older woman in the neighborhood to find and take care of. I think her name was Mrs. Street. And, you know, y'all, I ain't gonna say too much more about the book because my cousin she wants to come on here and talk about this book specifically because she has a little insight of her own background, so I don't want to say too much. But y'all, that book was so sad. I would say that book is akin with how sad it is, and the main character never gets a relief, to Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, the way Piccola went through so much, and the only relief that Piccola got was to lose her mind completely. And Piccola didn't even get no relief when she lost her mind, right? But that was still a relief. And that's what Hittin The Bricks remind me of. Like, It was such a sad story. I can't say it enough. It was such a sad story. And her cousin was a punk for what he did. Her old man, you know, I get it to her. She, like, the men who end up saving a woman, or the woman that's actually in love with always ends up saving her, and they're always a good dude. Like Juicy was saved by Gino, Candy was saved by Knowledge. Saucy, she was never saved, unfortunately. But Eva in Hittin The Bricks, she was saved, or she did have a good man who loved her, respected her, and just took care of her the way women should have. So we can give Noire that. She know how to write a good, strong male lead. And I gotta give it to her for that. Just like Ashley Antoinette. Ethic. Oh my God, I love me some Ethic. I like Indy too, but he shouldn't hit that girl in the stomach. And Carter, it's just something about the way the men love on their women. You just fall in love with, y'all. But yeah, y'all, Hittin The Bricks is sad. I don't know why. It kind of just put me in the mood right then and there. Let me take a sip of this wine again. Y'all, this wine is really good. I ain't even gonna lie. It's still not better than my Vintner's White by San Sebastian, but it's close to it. And I don't have to hawk it down the way I have to go to like Winn-Dixie all the way out there on Del Mabry to find San Sebastian's Vintner's White. Like this one, they have it somewhere everywhere. Total Wines and Spirits, ABC Wine and Spirits, Winn-Dixie. So that's a plus, right? So I think I will be definitely buying this again, y'all. Okay, y'all. Then we get to G-Spot 2. I read the second Deadly Sin, the first Deadly Sin, and basically the G-Spot 2, it takes up where G-Spot 1 ended with Juicy and Gino. You know, they left New York to go start their lives out west. And G-Spot 2 was good. Well, yeah, G-Spot, the 7 Deadly Sins, because there were 7 books plus an alternate ending, which kind of like, girl. They were really good, but the only issue that I had with it is like, I'm not one of the people who always want more. You know, like it don't have to be a sequel, right? Like I love a good, strong, standalone book, and I feel like, you know, all of her previous novels were awesome standalone books, right? G-Spot, Candy Liquor, Hood, all of that was great standalone. So that was why I wasn't really a fan of her G-Spot 2, that 7 Deadly Sins series. However, y'all, excuse me, let me take a sip of water. However, y'all, she wrote before the G-Spot the story of Granite McKay. That's her best book, hands down, because I could tell she really dug deep into her bag to come out with that story. It's about G's story from G-Spot, and he's this little skinny little kid who was living in Harlem with his strung out mother, who mother left him in the closet for like 3 days until Juicy from G-Spot, her grandmother, broke the door down to come rescue him, and then called up his father, who, I don't want to say he lived his life as a woman, but he wore a dress. He was gay and wore dresses, but he was all man, right? Even though he wore his dresses and his stockings. And his father raised him up, but his father taught him to be a man. But, you know, G had them skeletons. So before the G-Spot, you learn how he got how those skeletons came about, and you learn why he was so mean and why he did Juicy the way he did her, and why he did all women the way he did her. It went back to his mother, right? And you can't be going around making everybody pay for what your mama did, but G made every woman pay for what his mother did and what his first love, China Doll, did. Poor G. There. Then, you guys, we talked about, all right, I never read any of her Misadventures of Mink LaRue, Sexy Little Liar, Natural Born Liar series, right? Because I had just got out for her stuff back then. I'm like, I don't really want to read this stuff. But, you know, if y'all have read it, drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about her stuff, right? Let me see. I did read Baby Brother by 50 Cent in her It was alright. I only read it once. I ain't never want to read it again. But yeah, y'all, Noire was that girl. She was that girl back in the day. But I will have to say, because, you know, we have to talk about some of the stuff that she perpetuated in her books, right? Because, you know, this is 2021. If you don't call out certain things, you're, you know, a part of it. But there was a lot of, I don't know if I want to say colorism or featureism going on in her books, but just about every single female character from the books that I read, right, except for Mother, they were all like light-skinned caramel type of girls. You know, that little thing was going on. And I will say she did perpetuate, you know, every last one on light-skinned caramel. And then the book, I know the book that turned me off the most with the way the girls was described. And I remember my cousins also being upset was Candy Liquor, how Candy Liquor was described as a black girl with red hair and blue eyes. And it was just kind of annoying, right? And I know why it was annoying. We didn't have a word for it right then and there, because y'all are portraying her out to be a black girl, but then y'all talk about how she's mixed with, you know, Indian, and her dad is Cuban, and things like that. And we know now it's black Cubans, it's white Cubans, and it's black Cubans, you know, whatever. But she had a lot of that going on, especially in that caramel book. In her books, I will say, she wasn't dissing dark-skinned girls or brown-skinned girls, but it was a lot of the main character had to be light-skinned and, or, you know, caramel. And I didn't mind them being thick, but it was that whole little color thing or whatever. And Candy, the way she was described, wasn't that cute to me either, right? And yeah, that was my whole issue, though. Like, she did perpetuate a lot of that. A lot. Like, the way Candy was describing her mom as, I have the book, I don't feel like going to get it, but her mother was described as being, you know, 2/4 Cherokee. She had some pissed off Native American running through there and stuff like that. Girl, she could have been all of that with just being black, baby. But that's all I have to say about it. I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, Noire was that girl. I'd be glad to see her come out with another standalone book. Like, you know, I would love to see that. Excuse me. But I don't know. Maybe she kind of done. Oh, she got it now. It's called Noire Magazine. Oh, X Noire still up. That's what it's saying on Goodreads. I didn't know that, but Okay, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. She actually be replying to people on Goodreads. Good for you. Good for you. But yeah, y'all, that's all I have. Drop down in the comments. Let me know your favorite book by this author. Let me know of the books that you've read by her and your thoughts overall on her books. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.